What's going on, guys? On this episode of Uncle Buster's Garage, we're going to go ahead and do a leveling kit on my 2018 F-150. So as you can see here, we got our left and right leveling kit for the trunk. Comes with some extra hardware. It's like 6 bolts each. Not sponsored, but it's by Rugged Off-Road. I ordered this off of that website, American Trucks. This has been a pretty good website to me so far, and I think I'm going to go ahead and keep ordering parts from them because I'm liking everything that I see so far. But besides that, let's take some measurements and I'll show you what the factory rake is on pretty much every F-150. So the factory rake on the front end of this F-150 is about 38 inches and the rear end is actually sitting up at 40 inches right now. And it's not factory, obviously, because there's different wheels on it, but with that being said, it changed a little bit. All I did was really change the tire size. The factory tires themselves were a 275/55, and the ones I have on there now are 275/60s. The original rim size is 20 by 8.5, so I changed that to a 20 by 9 and gave it a little bit more of an aggressive stance. And I think that looks great, but I think it needs a leveling kit. So obviously you're going to start with removing the wheels, which I'm going to work on that.
I went ahead and finished the other side. I got it all back together. So, correct way to do this, the easiest way to do this, because this has to come out, the whole strut assembly, obviously. So, you got your strut assembly bolts. I'd recommend taking this top bolt right here off, or the end link. So you got that, the 2 strut bolts, and then I would take off the lower control arm bolts, which is a 27 millimeter, as well as the other one is a 22 millimeter. So once you get those two, you'll need a jack, and what you'll do is you'll put on this brace right here, and then you can raise and lower it from that point and pull the whole assembly out. So it makes it easier. Leave this in. Do not take this out. Stupid. Don't do that. But I'll show you guys the process and how this goes. So I'm going to start with the lower bolts for the strut assembly. Should be right here.
Alright, so strut assembly bolts are out.
As you can see, it's loose down here now. I can finally get all the dirt out of the way. Now I'm going to go to this end link here and go ahead and take that out.
Alright, so bolts out. So now we're going to move to these top strut bolts. And what we're going to do is we're going to just leave one of them in there really loose so we can just hand loosen it. And then we should be able to drop this whole assembly after these main lower control arm bolts. Pretty big size. So, like I said, we're going to do these top bolts first and then these 2 bottom ones. So like I was saying, I got this one bolt up here. It's rather loose. I mean, obviously it's not loose because of the weight that's hanging on it, but I got one bolt here. The 2 bolts out already. Look like these. These are the rest of your bolts that you have, but these are going to get thrown away because it comes with new hardware. So like I said, last bolt here. We're going to go ahead and take the jack, put it under here, and we're going to crank off these lower control arm bolts and get those out. Now make sure that you mark or know where they're supposed to go, because that is how your alignment's going to get adjusted. So be careful. Just make sure to mark it first and know where it goes. Front and rear. Front bolts out, or front nuts out I should say. Bolt's still in here, but you know, as you can see, with the suspension in, you can pull the bolt right out. So this is what it is. That's how big these things are. Your bolt, your nut, and that's just the front one. So we're gonna do the rear right now. So rear and front lower control arm bolts are out. Bottom strut bolts are out. And I got one hole in the strut end up here. I mean, there's a jack under it. So once we're lower this jack, it should all fall into place, and you should be able to take that last bolt out, pull the whole strut assembly out. So strut assembly is out. And now, time for this shit.
This one's a lot shorter than the other ones, but alright, it's on.
That's fine. Alright, so once you get those top bolts in, you don't have to tighten them right away. I recommend not, because then you'll give it a little bit of range to sway back and forth in the bottom. When you're done getting that in, you can go ahead and just realign everything. Yeah, you'll realign these 2 bottom studs back into the holes in the lower control arm and bring it up. And this end link that was over here, you want to make sure you line that up as well. And throw the jack under the control arm, bring everything back up, and start reassembling. All right, so I got the jack up. I got the lower strut bolts in. You have to make sure that this is aligned, otherwise you gotta take it all back apart. But you got it jacked up. You got both the rear and front lower control arm bolts back in. And with that being said, we can go ahead and tighten those up. Tighten up those strut bolts. Get this end link bolt back on, and then we can tighten up the top and drop the truck down. Obviously putting the wheels back on it. So let's go ahead and finish tightening this stuff up. All right, so lower control arm bolts are in. This bolt is now on. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is remount all these brackets. Like I said, there's two 10mm brackets. This one right here that holds the brake line on it, and this one up here also holds the brake line. And there's an 8mm right up front here that holds the ABS cable on. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten those back on. Tighten the upper strut bolts, and after that we'll be able to put the wheels on and put it back on the ground. All right, all the bolts and weird little extra brackets are in. These top bolts are not tight. So we're gonna go ahead and drop the lower control arm and throw the jack back under the truck, lift it up, and lift it up from the center. And then we'll put the newer wheels on and put it on the ground and see what's up. So now we can lift the truck up, take the jack stands out from under it, put it on the ground, and then I'm gonna put these center caps back on after I torque the wheels, and then we'll see where it sits. Yeah, the jack stands. So, back end really hasn't changed a whole lot, but now we're gonna go ahead and measure the front end and see where it's sitting after this level. It is actually about the same. You remember it's about 38 inches tall from the ground to the fender. It is now the same as the rear, which is 40 and a half. It looks closer to 41 front and back. So, as you can see, leveling kit, level the truck out, looks beautiful. And we managed to get rid of that factory rake. But if you guys come with me, I'll show you guys what it looks like outside. So as you can see, world of difference. The rear end is still at about 40 to 41 inches. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but the front end is about literally the same. So as you can see, leveling kit does its job. So if you like that video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.